Would you like to be a millionaire? This is one of the most comprehensive speeches by Tracy, the man who became a millionaire by teaching people how to be millionaires. If you stay until the end of this video, you can learn from him too. I learned a lot, and I'm going to reveal many secrets on how to become super rich here and now, Tracy will say. As I was coming in here to speak to all of you, they told me that everyone who would be here were leaders. They told me something else you don't know. Everyone is a millionaire. I said, wow, everyone you're seeing here is a millionaire or intends to be in the future. This place is a millionaire factory. The advantage of life is that it gives you the tools day after day to become rich and unique. You know, something I've learned over time, the limit to what you can achieve is determined by yourself. I started studying this subject many years ago when I was a beginner as a speaker. I received a call from a man who had 800 branches in his businesses across North America. He was gathering his team for a convention, and then he called me and said, "Could you give a speech on how to become a millionaire?" And I said, sure, but the problem was that at that time, I wasn't a millionaire yet, and now I have to talk about this subject to 800 people. When you're a beginner speaker and you're starting out, you say, of course, I'm an expert in this, whatever the subject, I'm ready. What's the topic? Is it stress management, family relationship loss, weight loss? I'm an expert in all of that and more. And I said, yes, I am an expert in this subject. I remember that day I was very worried and afraid, but I learned to control my emotions and act beyond fear. I couldn't let fear paralyze me. So I lifted my head and affirmed to myself, I am capable. So I hung up the phone and realized that I was about 38 years old at the time, and I knew absolutely nothing about the subject of being a millionaire. Since I was a teenager, I had many plans. My goal, my dream, was to be a millionaire when I grew up. And I had good professional qualities. I was good at sales, good at marketing, and so on, but I was still far, far from becoming a millionaire. And now I have to talk about the subject to 800 entrepreneurs. And what would you do in my place? Most people would probably refuse the proposal, but throughout this video, you'll realize that's exactly what changed my life and gave a supernatural advancement in my professional career. Pay attention to what I'm going to say now. After I accepted to give this speech, I needed to act. I needed to prepare myself. So I decided to dedicate 2 long months to something that changed my life. In 2 months, I read everything I could find about millionaires who started from scratch, and I found something interesting that more than 10,000 millionaires were interviewed in detail. So that helped me a lot. These are people who started from nothing, became millionaires over a professional lifetime. They said the things they did, the things they didn't do, the mistakes they made, their successes, and so on. I organized a lecture called 21 Success Secrets of Millionaires Who Started from Scratch. I prepared and gave this lecture 2 months later, and amazingly, everyone present in that auditorium liked my lecture, and then I was applauded standing. Sometimes what we lack is courage. Be bold and don't let lack of preparation paralyze you. Accept the challenges that life offers you and prepare along the way. You'll see that great things will come. The most interesting thing was to see countless people coming up to me after the lecture. They were very excited and asked me, "Could you give this lecture to our company? Could you give that lecture again?" And I said, of course. And then I gave that same lecture countless times. I started with a 60-minute lecture, then a 90-minute lecture, then a half day, then a full day, and I started giving lectures all over the world. So I recorded in audio and video and wrote in book form. Countless people, hundreds, thousands of people all over the world became millionaires because they followed the tips they learned from me. If you learn to cook with a chef, he can teach you to be the master at it. The same applies to your journey to success. Learn from experts. When I started studying this subject in 1980, there were about 5,000 millionaires in America. Today, there are more than 60,000, and this number is increasing all the time. 87% of millionaires are people who came from scratch. If you take 100 people graduating from college, one of those people will become rich over the course of their life. 3 will do well, 15 will have a good amount of money saved up, and 80% will be working hard or broke at the end of their careers when they're 65. When I was 30 years old, I hadn't even graduated from high school. It's said that everyone serves a purpose, even if it's to set a bad example. And I was that bad example. Parents would tell their kids, if you're not careful, you'll end up like that guy. And they'd point at me, and that would scare people into doing their homework. And so I left school in the 12th grade, got a completion certificate, but no diploma, a completion certificate, and bid farewell to school. My first job was washing dishes in the back of a small hotel for $1 an hour. So no matter what your job is today, no matter if you earn little, because everyone starts from the bottom, don't be afraid of the process, just start. I remember when I was promoted in that dishwashing job, I earned $1, so I started earning $1.40 an hour. It was a significant event in my life. For years, I worked in manual labor jobs, washed cars, did dishes until I lost the job. Then I washed cars and lost the job. When you're young, losing is part of that process, and that's when you have the chance to explore new jobs. So don't be afraid of losing jobs, but be afraid of staying in that same job for the rest of your life. When a person is fired today, at least, the leaders warn in advance. In those days, they would give you about 2 minutes notice. We don't need your service anymore. Here's your money, and there's the exit door. Goodbye. And so I would go from one job to another. I lived in my car, but I never lost sight of the idea that one day I would become rich, no matter what happened. When I started studying the subject of being a millionaire, I learned some wonderful things that are very simple, and that means everyone can become rich. But what I found out was that there were some secrets, and then I recorded them and gave them as lectures. Everyone loves the subject of becoming rich, and people started coming back to me after a year, saying that because of my lectures, they became rich. I'm a millionaire. Now they would say they would come back and have different eyes, their faces would shine, and sometimes they would have tears in their eyes. A year after hearing your lecture and starting to practice these things, I became rich, and here are some ideas. I will give you some keys to become a remarkable leader in this industry and to be one of the highest paid people in our society and to become rich. And that's amazing. But the fact is that they are not complicated. All you need to do are simple things. What they found out in the first major studies of thousands of millionaires, they said, what's your secret? What do you do differently? And they all said something similar. By the way, we now have 2,595 billionaires in the world today, and we didn't have billionaires when I started studying. There were no billionaires now. There are many of them, according to Forbes. Most of them are people who started from scratch. Many of them were immigrants. They came to this country with nothing and started working and doing certain things in a certain way, which we'll talk about now. They became, first of all, millionaires. Many of you are already millionaires. The first million is hard, but the second million is inevitable. Jim Rohn used to say the following. He said, it's not becoming a millionaire that's important. It's the person you have to become a millionaire. Yes, you have to become a completely different person. Do you understand me? If yes, type in the comments. I understand you have to develop skills and discipline better than 99% of the people in the world. You have to develop honesty, discipline, quality, relationships, have willpower, ability to work, and set priorities. Once you've earned your first million, you're the person who can make a lot more money. When you earn the first million, the second comes automatically. The first million is very hard, and the second million not so much. So I found out that there were some secrets. The first of all is to dream. Dream big dreams. I was very surprised. The starting point to change your life is to dream big dreams. You need to make your dreams bigger. They need to be beyond, far beyond what you're living. Seek something bigger that makes you feel a burning desire to move forward. That's the first starting point. Another turning point in your life is to make a decision. Make a decision that I will become rich, I will become a millionaire, and I will work hard, long hours, and I will sacrifice myself. I will pay the price. I will do whatever it takes because you need to do that. Otherwise, you won't become a millionaire. All the great millionaires did it, all the information you need. I'll pass on throughout this video, but the sole focus of this is for you to become rich, become successful, so that you can do all the wonderful things you want to do for yourself and your family. So make a decision. Tell yourself, I will be rich. Leave your comments saying I will be rich. I realized this when I was 36 years old, that I wished, hoped, and prayed, but never made a decision. I thought maybe one day this will happen, maybe someday I'll get lucky in something. So I bought stocks and made various investments and nothing happened. And then I discovered two great secrets of millionaires, and I'm going to reveal them to you now, so pay close attention. The first secret is that they weren't smarter than anyone else, and now I'm going to tell you something that will change your thinking. I didn't get better grades than other people, but I was willing to work harder than anyone else. I was willing to work harder, to start earlier, to work more, and to stay later than anyone else. Millionaires, when they're starting out, work very many hours. They start working less only after they achieve their goals. So in the beginning, it's necessary to put in a lot of energy. Imagine a plane taking off in the beginning to get off the ground. It needs to make a huge effort, but once it reaches a good altitude, the engines are turned off and it goes on autopilot because it doesn't need to make so much effort anymore. It just needs to maintain itself. So everything at the beginning is like that. You need to make an immense effort, but then it goes on autopilot. You don't need to be the strongest or the smartest. You just need to be more resilient and have a lot of willpower. The second thing I discovered is that they were financially educated. They earned money but didn't spend it all. They understood how to earn and how to spend their money, saving and investing their earnings intelligently. That was a key point in their lives. They were extremely smart when it came to making money. They were masters at it, and they managed their assets intelligently, multiplying their wealth. They became millionaires by learning to manage every penny they earned. Learn this as soon as possible because it will change your life. So your job is to become a millionaire, and my job is to tell you what to do. I'll show you the recipes and formulas you can use, and sometimes it's just a choice. Remember that 87% of millionaires and billionaires are self-taught. They started from nothing, and no one is smarter than you. No one is better than you. You are not inferior to anyone in anything if someone else can do it, especially with all the disadvantages many people start with. If someone else can do it, you can too. If it's possible for others, then it's also possible for you. That's the proof. Abraham Lincoln once said that some become rich as proof that everyone can become too. People were born in the same home and grew up together, faced the same difficulties, and one became a millionaire and the other didn't. That's the proof that they started from nothing and became rich. Well, there's the proof, and this happens in various families around the world. You can do it too. Just do the same things they did. Do it repeatedly. So I wanted to share with you what I call the 7C. Pay more attention because this is important. Let's go. I started putting together formulas, wrote 22 books with 21 great ideas to achieve this specific goal, 21 great ideas to double your income, 21 great ideas to live well, 21 great ideas to be an excellent manager, 21 great ideas to meet and marry the man or woman of your dreams. That's very popular. I just did hundreds and hundreds of hours of research and wrote all the lines, and people said it changed their lives forever. I study all the time, probably 3.5 hours today, and I'll do more reading hours before the day is over. Today, I am just constantly absorbing new information. Think about it, one idea combined with other ideas and with an opportunity that can transform your life forever. You need to be where the opportunities are and let your ideas flow. You need to find that idea that will change your life. One of the most important keys to becoming a millionaire is clarity. Clarity is my favorite word for success. It's my favorite word in business. I've consulted with many companies, and what I found is that in every situation, problems arise when the company lacks clarity about what it's doing or how it's doing it. I think all problems come from lack of clarity. What is your product? It's the first question you ask. Who is your customer? What does your customer consider more valuable than anything else? How are you superior compared to your competitors? What can you do to attract more customers? What can you do for these customers to really buy from you if you don't have clarity about absolutely everything you want? If your company doesn't have clarity about its goals, its objectives, and where it wants to go, if your relationship lacks clarity, if you don't make it clear to your children what kind of parent you are, if you don't make it clear to yourself what your life purpose is, nothing in your life will work. So write down this word clarity. Define in all areas of your life what you really want. Another key that everyone needs to understand if they want to succeed in life is how to manage their time. Time is worth much more than money. This is affirmed when many wealthy people in the world would trade all their wealth for a few more days with their family, for a few more days looking at nature, for a few more days with their spouse. So I'm sure to tell you, whoever wastes time will never become rich. You can be wasting time in various ways in your life. You waste time when you spend most of your time doing things that are not important to you. You may be wasting time just by being disorganized. They did a study with 50 successful business owners and asked them, what is the best business time management tool you've ever discovered? And 49 out of 50 raised a yellow notepad. That's what they do to plan their days. Well, they made a to-do list for today, meaning they wrote down everything they had to do. They always work from a list. If you don't work from a list, it's like taking your hands off the steering wheel down a winding road in the mountains. What happens is that instantly you start doing irrelevant, unimportant, and useless things, and at the end of the day, you'll be exhausted and haven't accomplished anything. So to change that, go out tomorrow and buy your yellow notepad. Here's a warning. Be careful what you're doing with your time. Millionaire people buy other people's time to have more time for themselves. If you spend 2 hours a week mowing your garden grass, for example, and you have enough money in your budget to pay someone to do it, you pay and you've just gained 2 hours a week to do something that someone else can't do for you. How about spending 2 extra hours with your children, with your wife, your husband, with your projects? As that's using time management wisely in life. You have decisive moments, and I've already written and published 86 books because I deal with the formula for writing and publishing books. Most professional authors write a book every 2 or 3 years, and I write and publish up to 4 books a year. Every 90 days I write a book and I publish it. Now I'm published by the biggest and best publishers in the world, and I'm very happy to say that people say they'll write a book and get rich. You don't write a book and get rich. You write several books and get rich because one book will attract people's attention. 2 books will prove that the first one wasn't a fluke. The third will probably be the book that will make some money, and then 4, 5, or 6. So people ask me, how can you write so many books? And I answer, well, I have a system. I use the system like the recipe in the kitchen and follow the recipe, and the system requires clarity about what the book is, who the book is for, what are the subjects of the book that are not covered elsewhere, what is the system, the methodology, and the process. And I don't write fiction books, I only write practical books where you basically do this and get this result. And it has helped people, and they have reported to me how their lives have been transformed. But let's get back to the tools on how to become a millionaire. Take things out of your head and put them on paper. The most powerful tool in the world is a pen and a piece of paper. This is the greatest wealth creator in the world. Everything you take out of your mind and put on a piece of paper and put energy into will come true. Take notes all the time. Everything starts first in thought, but we can't leave them there. We need to bring them out. We can start by taking them out of the mind and bringing them to paper, and that will bring more clarity. Remember, I already said that you need to have clarity about your notes. You can do it now with technology advancing. You can jot it down on your phone. But what I found is that if you write it down on paper, it will be registered in your brain and you'll remember it much easier. I found that if you don't do this, if your goals are not written down, you probably won't move forward in life. One of the things I've taught to over 5 million people is to write down your goals on paper. Write them in the present tense, as if you've already achieved them. For example, I earn $20,000 a month. Write it with today's date. I am a millionaire, and put today's date. I live in a house of such size, and put today's date. In other words, write as if it's already a fact and you're just reporting it. Your subconscious mind is wonderful, and it can start acting in the direction of all this. What you're doing is only thriving on goals. You can pronounce now in the present opportunity, and now you have something dynamic. It's called word thought. But that's a dynamism in your brain where your brain knows you're only earning that amount of money, but now you're saying, I earn this amount of money. Your brain knows you're not a millionaire, but now you're saying, I am a millionaire. And so your brain starts working to close that gap where you are and where you want to be. Your brain starts working 24 hours a day and gives you ideas. Every person has what's called a subconscious mind, and that mind has been talked about for many, many years. Some call it the higher self. Some people call it God's mind. Some people call it God's spirit, whatever it is. But there's an incredible power in the universe that you can use. You can tap into it simply by writing a goal clearly on a piece of paper, and then that mind will work 24 hours a day to bring all that into your life. That's amazing, isn't it? Start practicing from today, and then tell me in the comments how this experience was. The fact is, once you have a clear goal and write it down, you force that field of energy attraction and start attracting everything you need into your life to achieve the clear goal. And then I'm going to ask you, please do one thing for me. Write down your goals. After this video, follow the instructions, because I'm going to give you an instruction. You'll see that your life will undergo a transformation. It's almost like magic. Your whole life will be different. Every person has a turning point, and the turning point is when you set a main goal, when you decide on an important goal and how you're going to work for money in business, for life. It's better to set a goal to make a lot of money. You can make a lot, or you can make a little better. Make a lot, right? And if you have a choice, I recommend you choose to make a lot, because if you don't choose much, by default, you'll automatically get very little. Because once you're clear about your goal, you start seeing all sorts of opportunities, things you can do that you hadn't thought of doing. So you move faster towards the goal and move the goal towards you. You activate that magnetic field and start attracting to your life people and circumstances that help you achieve the goal. That's the most amazing thing. It's true, and it's been this way for thousands of years, and it's the great secret of success. You will never be successful unless you are doing something you love and need to do it very well. Napoleon Hill once said, "Do something you love and do it well, and you will never work a day in your life again." This works, and you can test it because you can't wait to start working. You can't wait to do it because you love everything you're doing. The turning point in my life came around 1987 when I attended a seminar, and the seminar speaker talked about the importance of self-esteem. And what he said is that your self-esteem is defined by how much you like yourself. And the more you like yourself, the more you like other people. And the more you like yourself, the more confidence you have, and the more willingness you have to try new things. So you are willing to take risks with the possibility of not succeeding. The more you like yourself, the more you increase your self-esteem. I see many people who don't like themselves, so I ask, how can you like other people if you don't even like yourself? But how can you help other people? You treat them well. You need to practice the golden rule. You treat them the way you would like others to treat you, and so they feel valuable and important and want to be around you and want to accept your guidance and want to do what you instruct them to do and also want to succeed. And the more you like yourself, the more you like others, and the more you like others, the more they like you too. And it becomes a positive, upward spiral that makes you happy. The wonderful thing about religious tendencies that I admire so much is the focus on family and children. And the best thing you can do for your children is to raise them to be self-confident and have high self-esteem, so they like themselves, value themselves, and consider themselves worthy people. And that's the most important thing in the world. I've been very blessed. I have the most wonderful wife in the world. So we have 4 wonderful children, and we've never criticized our children or punished our children throughout our lives. We've had many frank conversations, but we've never punished or criticized our children. We've never done anything to undermine their self-esteem and self-confidence. We've always told them what wonderful children they were. And now 3 out of 4 are married. We have 7 grandchildren. And what I see is that my children have grown up and married people with great self-esteem who treat them to be valuable people, and vice versa. And then they raise their children with high self-esteem. And how can you know if you have a relationship at any business level, anywhere? It's when there is an atmosphere of happiness. People in good relationships laugh and feel good to be together, feel good to be at work, feel good to be with their children, with their relatives. And this can only happen if it's spontaneous. It has to come from within, from your heart. It has to come from your mind to know if you're in a good work environment, in a good relationship. Feel the energy day by day and see if all this can be hurting you or doing you well. Most people may be far from becoming millionaires due to simple mental clutter. They don't decide what they want. Decide exactly what you want, and the vast majority of people really know what they want. They want to be rich. But what does that mean? How much does it cost? When do they want it in? How much time? What will you do to get it? So decide exactly what you want. And if you're married, sit down with your wife, with your husband, and decide exactly what you want. 2 people working together, a husband and a wife working together on a single goal. Multiply the power behind achieving that goal more than anything else. It's called a great mastermind. The husband and wife are working together. The number one thing is to decide exactly what you want. Einstein said that if you can't explain your goal to a 6-year-old child and have the 6-year-old child explain it to another 6-year-old child and both understand it, then you don't know your goal. So ask yourself, is your goal so clear that you could tell it to a 6-year-old child, and the 6-year-old child would not only understand your goal, but also could tell how close you are to it? And Einstein's second test is to write down your goals. There is nothing more important than writing down your goals, because if it's not written, it's just a fantasy. Now, they did a whole series of studies at Harvard and found a big difference between students who typed their notes and students who wrote their notes. Students who wrote their notes got top marks, and students who typed their notes forgot everything before the end of the day, because writing forces you to use 3 skills: your kinesthetic ability, your physical ability to write, and your auditory ability. You see, when you're writing, your auditory ability can also be used at this moment. You say it to yourself when you're writing, so you activate the 3 main parts of your brain simultaneously, like a beam of laws coming from a space station straight to a piece of paper, and your subconscious mind accepts it as a command, and your subconscious mind starts working on it 24 hours a day. Just write. Don't forget that, right? And the most incredible thing is that if everything you did, you write a goal and leave this conference, your life would be totally different forever. And you'll see that things will start to happen, and you'll say, this is a coincidence, and you can be sure it's not. South step number 1, decide exactly what you want and have clarity in that goal. Number 2, write down everything in detail. And number 3, set a deadline. Tell your subconscious mind when you want it. I want this by this date. Therefore, every goal always ends with an expiration date. I want to achieve this goal by this date. And you write it in the present tense. Things start to happen, and your life starts to be transformed. Step number 4 is to make a list of everything you can think of doing. Just make a list. And as you think of more things, add them to this list. Keep writing and writing. And sometimes you think of something in the middle of the night and you write it down. Keep a notepad next to your bed and write it down quickly so you don't forget. Just write. Don't ignore it. It's really important. It's the big turn, like a huge ship turning in the ocean. Your whole life starts to change when you write a list of the steps you'll have to take. The next step is to act in the direction of your list. Take action on the most important things on your list.